we decided that we wanted to look for words that encompass all those things, like refresh, revive, renew. And we started looking for scriptures to go with that. And we came up with, whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. And I don't know about you, but the last few weeks I've needed a lot of refreshing. And some of you know why, and some of you don't. But sometimes you just need a time of revival. You need some time to just bring yourself back to God. And so that's kind of what we looked for. And when we looked at this verse, and I saw something in it, and I really looked at it and found something that I had been overlooking all along. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Now, most of you know that I grew up.
Belinda, you got to point it back this.
I know, I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
Most of you know that I have grown up in a house full of girls. I'm going to push this little button. See if it goes. Now, we tried to figure out when this was taken. I think it was about, I don't know, 79. And it's fun being in a house full of girls. We had a lot of fun growing up. Sometimes you get a little lost in the crowd. Are you one of Dylan's girls? And which one are you? Are you one of the older ones or one of the younger ones? Did I have your sister in class a couple of years ago? Are you Barb? Or Bettina? Maybe Bev? Oh yeah, there's a bunch more. Not only did our names sound alike, Mom kind of dressed us alike too. You know those little Easter dresses with the gingham? Remember those? Some of them were red, some of them were pink and purple, and is there yellow? And, you know, of course, when you grew out of the one was made for you, you just wore the one that was the next size up. Sometimes we made ourselves known. Temper tantrums, big loud voices. Those were my faults. Some of us cry. Some of us, you know, all those things that you do to get attention when you're a kid. But all of us kind of had special things that we retreated to or we used that was just ours, just our time. Barb used to go out behind a tree in the pasture and write. We weren't allowed past the fence. Bev used to hide in her bedroom and study. Let's see, Bonnie followed Dad around in the garage. Beth was everybody's mom. She picked up all the little cousins and carried them around. Let's see, Tina played basketball. I drew. Everything had a doodle on it somewhere. But sometimes you needed somebody else to come up and let you know that you were special. For me, it was tea, hot tea. I was in grade school when we found out that I was allergic to milk. Couldn't handle that stuff. So when all of us kids would come in from a snowy day out in the yard, Mom always had hot chocolate on the stove. But next to the hot chocolate was a pan of hot water. And that was for me. Just for me. And it kind of got to be that as I got older, that hot tea was what Mom brought me when I come home from school discouraged or down or feeling bad or sick. It was my hot tea. And so when you see me with a cup of hot tea, and yes, I like these fancy little cups for that very reason, it makes me think of my mom and that she did that special thing for me. When we grew older and I got married, we moved to Mississippi, iced tea was what you drank down there. Sweet tea. Very sweet. But it was always comforting, always refreshing, and it was what you needed to revive you, whether it was because it was warm or you just needed a comforting little cup. Even God rested. Let's see if I can find the right button. There you go. For in 6 days the Lord made the earth, the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. Jesus, when he lived here on earth, also took time to be alone. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him and led them up a high mountain where they were all alone. There he was transfigured before them. And in John, when Jesus went up on the mountainside and sat with his disciples, and again a little later on, Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. Sometimes we need to stop and refresh our spirit and spend time with God in prayer. Just to get away from all the things that overwhelm us. But we tend to be creatures of habit. And we kind of get stuck in whatever part of life we're in. And we forget to balance our lives like God would have us to. And tea has always been a soothing, calming thing for me, but it has something in it. Caffeine. And what does caffeine do? Get your heart going, revs you up, get you ready to go. And too much of a good thing is not so good. But it does. It moves you. And if you look at these verses that we just looked at, these times Jesus brought him to something else. In Mark, he went up on a mountain and they were alone. He was transfigured. But when he came back down, I gotta find the right place. There. He took a spirit out of a boy, an evil spirit. He was refreshing himself for a reason. He knew what was to come. He knew he had something that he needed to do. If you look again, John went up on the mountainside with his disciples, and when he came back, he fed the 5,000. And again, when he withdrew himself by the mountain, he walked on water when he came back home. So what does that tell us? Sometimes we need to rest, but we're resting for a reason. It's because we need to get up and go. Just like Jesus did. Let's see. Where am I at? We get stuck in our habits. Some of us want to refresh other people. Some of us want to be waited on. And some of us never want to get involved. We put ourselves into these three categories that God never intended for us to stay in. Let's see if I can make that button go. We're either a martyr, a hoarder, or a loner. You give up everything for others, but you refuse help. Makes you a martyr. A hoarder requires constant attention and never sees anybody else's needs. And a loner helps someone and refuses to help anybody else. Now, we all have a little of this in us, all of those things. But that's not bad, because God intended for us to have some of all of those things. He just didn't want us to get stuck in any of them. Let's see, where am I at? Do you expect everyone to please you? That would make you a hoarder. Do you do for others, but you never let anyone enjoy the privilege of sharing your burdens? Because that is definitely a privilege.